course, a man needs no introductions. Tim Kennedy, my friend, finally back, on top of the game. It's been a long time since you fought. Obviously, you weren't sitting on the couch not doing anything. You've been hosting a couple different TV shows. Obviously, the big one that the MMA community got behind was Hunting Hitler. For those folks that didn't actually see the show, explain what Hunting Hitler is all about.
It's putting together a team of investigators that look into the possibility of if Hitler didn't die in the bunker, what happened to him. The narrative that everybody knows is that in 1945, Adolf Hitler and his then wife, Eva Braun, committed suicide, and that was the end of the two of the most evil people in history. Evidence doesn't stack up that way, that's actually what happened. So we put together some war crimes investigators and some forensic experts and some special forces guys and some Navy SEALs and some historians. And we go around the world tracking down to look if there's evidence if he got out where he went.
So did you run down to Argentina? Did you run down to Brazil? Obviously South America is the first logical jump for anybody that kind of follows World War II. Did you make the jump down to South America and then go other places, or are you still in South America trying to map that out?
Yeah, no, I spent like half of the year in South America, and we had a team in Europe as well. The choke points for a fugitive are right at the initial escape and then where they're going to finally hide. Those are what we call choke points. So those are the places, the gateways that they have to get through. So we had a team of 4 or 5 guys in Europe that were looking about how he would have gotten out of Berlin and then left Europe. And then we had my team in South America, and we were in Chile, Brazil, Uruguay, Paraguay, and a ton of time in Argentina looking. So what we know is that a lot of his lieutenants, the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in command right underneath him all made it out. Like some of the worst dudes, they were tried at Nuremberg in absence because they made it out. So if the number 1 guy died in the bunker, then why did 2 through 15 make it to South America?
Right.
There's no logic behind that. And we find them. We find the guys. We prove how they would have gotten out. We show that they got out. Here's the journals of Joseph Mengele, who died of old age in Brazil, the angel of death, one of the most evil dudes ever. I think we are changing history. If you look at what we're showing and what we've found, there's no way that you can go back and say this is what happened and the narrative that we've been told is true, because it just doesn't stand up to the evidence.
So you're feeding, of course, in one of my major things. Of course, history is one of my hobbies, and you're feeding into the conspiracy theory of he didn't die, nothing really happened. The Russians had the body and got rid of it right away. But that's also going to feed into the conspiracy theorists that are around my age and go, well, we kind of did the same thing with bin Laden. We caught him, identified his body, and then just dumped him in the ocean like that, and that was it. So there's no real body to go after. So now the question remains, is Hitler out there? Well, then possibly Osama's out there. So you still haven't gotten all the way through Hitler's trap. Is there still more research to be done? Is the one season of finding Hitler, was that all that there was, or is there going to be more seasons of this coming out? Because I know you haven't exhausted all the avenues yet.
No, man, we just scratched the surface in season 1. With the resources and time that we had, we really just posed a question. Okay, could he have gotten out? And we showed that it's possible that he could have. Season 2, which will air right after my fight.
Okay.
I believe that when people watch this, there's no way that you can say, man, the government, like always, has lied to us again. Whether it's Benghazi or Hitler or even bin Laden, there's just no way for us to know, because the narrative that we're told doesn't always fit the truth.
And you, obviously being a special forces guy and being in the thick of a lot of different shooting situations, you understand too that there's a lot of stuff that goes on that you saw and when you go back and do your after action report to your commanding officer, you give him the report, and he then takes part of it out of the way to go up the chain. So it's like a game of telephone. So by the time it gets to the top, it's almost a completely different story than what you actually did. But that's the narrative that they're going to go with. And you're like, well, that's not actually what happened, but it's close enough. I'll kind of let it go. But on these big things like Hitler and Bin Laden and you talk about any huge dictator in the world, like we got to have solid facts. And by the time the narrative actually gets back to us, the American populace, it's the game of telephone is completely screwed up. Like, oh no, he's hit him and Eva Braun are dead. Well, Mengele got to Brazil. He got out. This guy got out. Hess got out. Like, come on. If Hess got out, let's be honest. If Hess got out, Hitler got out. There's no way that the two handholders weren't getting out together. I mean, that's just ridiculous. So,
yeah, it's weird. It is a game of telephone. Especially when you start getting up into the elite units. But every person that picks up the phone and changes the story a little bit. Unlike when it's a bunch of kids that play it and it just gets changed haphazardly, these are people that slightly change it every single juncture to make it fit what they need it to.
Yeah.
So it's intentional. So every time somebody's like, okay, what'd you say? All right, now I'm going to tell my version of the story because it needs to fit what I need it to. Okay, let me tell the story. And then that guy takes it and changes it for the next one. And it just keeps going down until it finally gets to the American people. And by that point, there's not even a semblance. There's not even something that resembles what actually happened.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I really didn't know how deep it went. Like, I've always been kind of a conspiracy theorist guy. I don't know how deep it went until you and I were on that trip through Europe. And I was like, wow, like this, it really does go, it's crazy. Like how the actual story happens and what we actually think we know about the story is not the same. It's not even close to what kind of happened. It's like, what do they say? History is written by the winners. So it can be anything. Like we can make up any deal at all. I can tell, we can say anything we want to. And because we win, we get to write the story. And that's just how it works. And it may not necessarily how the whole thing goes. But, I'm sorry, guys. Like Tim and I can talk about this stuff for hours. And we get down a rabbit hole where we're just talking about. And I'm so deeply vested and interested in this show and the storyline that he's going with that I am the number one mark for the show. Like this whole thing could be a big gimmick that you're pulling over all of our eyes. And I'm the first one in the hole, like following down the trap with you. Like I'm right there next to it. Because this is right up the alley of, I'm like, no, this shit is still going on.
When you say this is still going on, there of course is a huge element of history, but in what comes out in this next season, it's current, it's real day, it is like the grandkids or the children of these first generation Nazis.
Yeah.
And these people are passionate. They're worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and they are still hiding or intentionally prohibiting people like me or investigators to find the truth. So it is still really currently going on, like intimidating witnesses, having people disappear, like not 60 years ago, not 70 years ago, today. It's still happening.
No, I don't want you giving away any part of the storyline that's happening in the show that you got coming out, because it is important for the folks to sit down and watch the show after your fight happens on November 12th. But there's a situation where people don't realize that Hitler died a billionaire. Like let's say he died in the bunker. Let's just say the story they gave us is true. He's a billionaire because he had all these paintings, he had all this gold, he has all this stuff that he stole and stocked away that no one else has rights to anymore because he's held on to it. Plus, let's not forget his life story that keeps getting retold. He's a billionaire at this point. So even if, say, he's dead, his grandkids and his offspring, his sisters try to get a hold of it, and all her offspring now are still trying to chase this money hole down. Are you running into them where they're like violently trying to stop you from doing any kind of research?
Yeah. The people that got in our way, the people that would be waiting for us at airports, or say, hey, sorry, man, you guys can't drive this way, you can't check into this hotel, or you can't get your cars, or maybe like the first 2-3 times we're like, oh man, that's a bummer, that's a coincidence, that like again we're being inhibited. But now, having been part of this for going on a year, it went from coincidence to, we now see the same people that are getting in our way, that are stopping us, that are burning things, that are having libraries that catch on fire the year before or the month before we get there.
Okay, so I gotta ask you told ISIS you want to come find me, come get me. Like you challenged ISIS, like you want to come to America, come get me, and trust me, you're not getting within 100 yards of my house. Like I'm going to get you before you get anywhere near me. Did you feel threatened when you were down in South America as well? Because now you got an ISIS threat, and they know where you are. If they really want to get you, they're going to come find you because that's just how they work. Are you threatened now by these other knuckleheads out there too that they're trying to stop you from researching Hitler?
Yeah, I mean, I've had to change security on a bunch of different levels in my life, my home, additionally. Yeah, different windows, different doors, different security systems, different armed response. Even changing addresses, paying people to go through the internet and scrub information about where people can find where my kids are, where my wife works, what kind of cars we drive, going through destroying pictures of like this year has been a task from trying to clean the slate because there's there's really bad people not only on the terrorist side but now in like the organized crime world, which the Nazis are part of.
Right.
Yeah.
Geez. So now you haven't fought. Tell me if I'm wrong. You haven't fought since Yoel Romero back in 2014.
That's true. 2 years.
This is coming up on 2 years. We're fighters. Well, I'm not. You're a fighter. You only make money when you fight. You haven't made money in 2 years from fighting. And this UFC took away all the sponsors, so you're not making any sponsorship money either. And you were very vocal about that as well, because it really hurt you with Ranger Up. Like you really got hurt with On It. Like a lot of your big level sponsors, like you really took a dump in the sponsorship payday. How are you surviving? Because the stuff you just mentioned, I know you. It ain't cheap. You're not buying the simple little Walmart camera to put on the one window. No, you're buying the super expensive 1080 DPI. Immediate response. Your cell phone buzzes. Your wife's cell phone buzzes. The cop's cell phone buzzes. Unless somebody just walked through the window. You're buying the top end stuff. That stuff is expensive. How are you able to get through this whole mess?
We have a lot of people that back the show. That wanted us to be able to do it to the highest level, with the best equipment, with the best team. So, there wasn't any out of pocket money for me. And on the grown up kind of adult side, I lose money when I fight. Like you said, sponsors, people know me not only from fighting, but being for a Green Beret, a Special Forces sniper, a Ranger, my entire adult life has been tracking human beings.
Yeah.
And that's a very lucrative market in this current day and age, whether it's poachers or human traffickers or counter drug work, or even television. Like when you look at hunting Hitler, I'm really still just hunting a human, just one that's been dead for maybe 20, 30 years. So my wife hates it when I fight because I make a lot less money.
Right.
I own 3 different businesses that are all great businesses that I'm proud to be part of. Sheepdog Response is a big one. It's a government contracting defense and tactics company. I own a shoe company called Woobies that makes like tactical vans. And then Ranger Up, I'm one of the owners of, we're the biggest military apparel company. And I'm really proud to be part of that company. So, as an adult, I'm vastly invested in these companies, not only financially but emotionally, and then my time. So when I go to train, right now I'm in Albuquerque, New Mexico, getting ready for my. I'm not going to board meetings. I'm not part of the design team. I'm not, being in upper level management like I should. This is me in Albuquerque. I just got done working out with Cowboy. Got a couple of hour break until another workout tonight. So it's different when you're fighting.
So, I mean, Rashad Evans, it's a great opponent for you to come back to. I mean, it's 2 big name guys in the sport. Rashad's kind of, he's on the downslide as well. He's a little bit older. He's been in the commentating, doing a great job doing that. So this fight makes sense. But you talk about how you lose money every time you fight, and you like being upper level management. You like being on design teams. You like being a part of the entire process of all the businesses you're a part of. Like you want to do that kind of stuff. How much longer do you see yourself fighting? Like, do you really want to keep doing this and losing money every time you do it?
No, I don't. This, UFC 205 is the biggest card in UFC history, in mixed martial arts history.
Yeah.
We have some of the biggest names that have been in the sport in the past 15 years. Not only the newest, the hottest, the Conor McGregors, but we have the Frankie Edgars. We have the Rashads, the Tims. Like it's at Madison Square Gardens, New York City. First fight in the state of New York in the history of mixed martial arts. And I'm going to be fighting a former light heavyweight champion. Implications here, not only, not ignoring the fact that a win here puts me in title discussions. Michael Bisping's one of the most embarrassing losses of his career was to me. And, he's on the shelf with some injuries for a minute after just defending his title against a 47-year-old man. And, if you look at every interview that he's done since he's won the title, he'll never mention my name because he knows I'll beat the brakes off him. When he talks about, oh, this is who I'm going to fight, let me ask for a 47-year-old man, because I want to redeem a loss, even though he has a humiliating loss to me because I beat him up for 25 minutes, he won't mention my name. So I'm going to go beat Rashad at Madison Square Gardens, and I don't think that there's going to be a way that he can't ignore the elephant in the room, which is the fact that Tim Kennedy beat the brakes off him for 25 minutes.
Well, also, too, that night, you got Chris Weidman and Yoel Romero fighting. Obviously, you had your fight with Yoel. So then I think Chris is going to win that one. So Weidman comes out of that one on top. There's going to be a discussion now of, okay, is Weidman back in? Does he get Bisping? It's going to be a discussion with Tim Kennedy. If you beat Rashad, is he back in? Is there going to be a question with Bisping? Of course, Rockhold wants to get back in. Everyone wants a shot at Bisping because let's be honest. He's the most unlikely champ that it could be at the weight right now. But let's give him credit. Let's give him credit. He was finished in round one against Henderson. And he comes back and finds a way to win. And when I saw it live, I'm drinking and talking to my friends and hanging out. I'm like, no, Henderson clearly wins this one off of damage control and how bad he just beats him up. Like, I really think that Henderson wins it. I go back and watch it again. I kind of give it to Bisping because now I'm watching the whole fight, earplugs in, not listening to commentators, turning the sound down, just watching the fight for fight's sake. Also understand I have an advantage that the judges that night don't have. I'm watching the camera angle. I see the camera as a bunch of ruggies in the best spot, the best shot. So now I'm kind of giving it to Bisping a little bit. Either way you look at that fight, no matter what, in the history book, Bisping wins the fight. Damn it, you got to give him credit. The guy knows how to take a beating and keep on coming back and keep fighting his way through that. Do you think it's going to be, let's just say that you weren't fighting Rashad at 205. You're fighting Bisping for the title at 205, but you saw 6 months ago, let's say, for example, that he can take that kind of a beating and come back and still win. Does the fight change how you approach that fight with Bisping now because you see how mentally tough he is, or do you realize now he's even less mentally tough because he took such a bad beating?
I don't think he's changed. I always, even though I don't think he's talented, I think he has pillows for fists, and he's not a great grappler, and he has decent counter wrestling. He's essentially kind of the same fighter that he's been for a long time. He's always been tough. He's always been, deep. He identifies who he is as a person, as a fighter. Whether he's fighting Anderson Silva and he gets rocked by a flying knee and he's about to be unconscious, he's going to bounce back and try to stay in the fight. He gets permanently damaged in his eye. He's going to say, no, I'm still a fighter. I'm going to get back in the cage because that's who he is. So I'm going to tip. I don't want to say anything nice about him because I don't really like him. But that is that is a characteristic that you can't ignore and compliment, that he is a fighter to the core. With that said, when I fought him, he had disrespected one of my friends, Jorge Rivera, when he was cheated and illegally kneed him, and then spit on another one of my other friends. I think I could have submitted or knocked him out when we fought, but I didn't want to. I wanted to beat him for 25 minutes. That's what I did. I put him on his back, and I roughed him up like a schoolyard bully. And having felt his power, or the lack thereof, feeling that I could take him down whenever I wanted, I advanced position on him like 10 times in that fight. I passed his guard, go to side control, go to mount, but rough him up. And I don't think that's changed, except that I hit harder, and I'm a better grappler, I'm a better wrestler, and my striking's better. But he's the same guy, just with more wear and tear.
Has the time off helped you? Because, like you just said, he's got so much more wear and tear because he's been super active. It's not like you've been in fights, but you've been fighting. You've been out doing other physical, manly, like man's man kind of shit. So it's not like you're just laying around. Do you feel like the time off has actually helped your joints and helped your body kind of heal up from all the day-to-day wear and tear?
Yeah, 100%. I've I know every fighter says this. I've never felt better. I'm in the best shape of my life. Blah 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 blah. You know, go back and look at my Instagram or my Facebook or anything over the past 2 years and look at what my life has been like. Look at how hard I train every single day with the best minds and coaches on the planet. This has been 2 years, a sabbatical dedicated to being, I've always been hashtagging hard to kill.
Yeah.
It's because I've committed myself to the idea of being the best and sharpest version of myself as a person, as a human, as a special forces operator, as a Green Beret, as a sniper, as somebody that I make my money by tracking bad humans. That's what I am as an adult. With ISIS trying to kill me, maybe even some rich 100-millionaire, billionaire counter drug, human trafficking Nazis, this is the best version of myself that there has ever been. And, I could not have, if I had been fighting these past 2 years, it would be a muddied, damaged, hurt, worn out version of myself. But now it's a fresh, fast, powerful, I just want to get in the ring. I want to get in that cage and I want to work.
So how hard was it to find partners and get a game plan for Rashad? Because you've changed so much over the last 2 years. Not that he's changed that much, which he really hasn't. He still does the same kind of stuff, the same kind of game. But you're different. So it'd be tougher now for you to pick a game plan because your toolbox has doubled in size.
Yeah. I'm at Jackson Winklejohn right now. So I had Derek Brunson here.
Okay.
What was awesome is for UFC 205, Cowboy Cerrone is fighting Kevin Gastelum. So Cowboy brought in a whole bunch of heavy-handed wrestlers to get ready for Kevin. So we have a bunch of guys here from Houston, Corpus Christi, from Colorado, from Washington, from Oregon, that are all 5'10", 5'11", 200, 210-pound heavy-handed wrestlers. I'm not saying Rashad's going to wrestle with me because that's not what he's going to want to do. He's going to stay on the outside and try to use fancy footwork and clip me with some clean boxing. There's no secret there. But I'll have no problem closing the distance, getting my hands on him, grappling for 15 minutes, striking for 15 minutes, kickboxing for 15 minutes, whatever the hell he wants to do for 15 minutes. I hope he's brought in some of the best guys in the world because here I have the best guys in the world.
So how important, obviously you talked about it earlier, how important is it for you to get this victory now? Because you really don't see yourself fighting that much longer. So unless you're in the title hunt, it could be the end of it for you very soon. No matter what your contract says, you can just hang it up.
Yeah.
So how important, how much pressure are you putting on yourself, goal-oriented wise, to make sure this is a victory so that you are in the title hunt and that you are going in that direction?
Yeah, I'm not a guy that puts a lot of external stress on myself. I'm very goal-driven. Mm-hmm. So, I see the 5-meter target, and that is a win against Rashad. And I understand how that affects everything else in my life. Whether it's maybe for a title fight, how people are going to remember me in the sport. And I realize and I understand that. But the most clear picture that I have in how I'm preparing for all of this is just to be there at 205 on that night, healthy and ready to go. And I don't think I could be any more prepared than I am right now.
That's Tim Kennedy. He's got Rashad Evans coming up here, UFC 205, the biggest card in mixed martial arts history, hands down. This is the card that UFC 200 should have been, but I'm so happy that's UFC 205 now at Madison Square Garden. Finally, my home state has finally got their shit together and got it legalized. This is just ridiculous how long it took them. Tim, so happy that you're back in the cage. And I got to be honest, I will not be mad if you call it quits after this fight. Just be like, look, I've got all this crap going on. I'm chasing Hitler right now. I don't have time for this craziness because honestly, if it doesn't make sense money wise for you to be doing this, why torture your body? Because I got to think you're torturing your body running through the jungles of Brazil. You got to be torturing your body running through Venezuela. It's got to hurt your, you're not getting in it's not great hotels. It's not great travel. Like you're in a bounce around crappy Jeep and having to keep moving duffel bag to duffel bag. So, man, I'm so excited that you're on this card. I can't wait for this whole thing to happen.
I'm pumped. It's been good.
Tim, thanks so much for taking some time with us. We'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me. Talk to you later, Frank.